The forgetting stopped. The construct of great slaughter solidified, no longer a projection, but a permanent reality within the infinite light. Mercy isn't just about forgiveness, Anya realized, her eyes glowing with the wisdom of the handover. It's about the permanence of the bond. The stone heart isn't just a metaphor. It's the decision to be unyielding in our love for one another. The universe didn't just hum. It sang with a new, granular detail. The names were restored. The scents were sharpened. The quiet song of mercy now had a baseline of unbreakable choice. As the living forensic merged back into the sanctuary of light, Leo and Anya looked back one last time. They saw Sister Boniface cleaning a test tube, humming a joyful tune. They saw Sam and Ruth walking toward the stag and hound. Great slaughter was safe. The 500 years were now an eternal and the heart, once stone, then gold, was now the very fabric of everything that ever was, and ever would be. Chapter 72. The Multiversal Resonance. With the permanent reality of great slaughter secured, the resonance began to ripple outward, touching not just one timeline, but all of them. Leo and Anya discovered that for every choice made in 1960, a new St. Vincent was born in another dimension. There was a great slaughter in a world of one in a cyberpunk sprawl, and another where the mist was made of stardust. They're all branching from the same stone heart, Leo realized, observing the shifting geometries of the resonant archive. But they are beginning to drift apart. The unbreakable choice we found is becoming an infinite dissonance. The challenge was no longer just about remembering the past. It was about harmonizing the infinite variations of the future. The Council of the Perennial called for the great alignment. Anya, carrying the combined essence of the original Guardians, stepped into the loom of realities. She realized that she couldn't just be one person. She had to be the bridge. She reached out, her consciousness expanding to touch the Sister Boniface of 1,000 Worlds, the alchemist, the coder, the shaman, the astronaut. Golly, the collective voice of Boniface rang out across the multiverse. The molecular structure of the all is far more interesting than I suspected. Chapter 73. The Weaver's Reconciliation. As Anya wove the threads of the different great slaughters together, a new figure appeared in the loom. It was Julian, the ancient guardian, but he was no longer alone. Beside him stood the original Sister Helena and the late Earl, their forms shimmering with a light that surpassed the singularity. "You have done well, Anya," Julian said, his voice a choir of echoes. "You have shown that mercy is not a single act, but a universal law. But there is one final thread to tie." He pointed to a dark corner of the loom where a single, cold reality remained. It was a world where Ronnie Panesar had won, where the convent was a pile of rubble, and where Sam and Ruth had never met. "This is the original debt," Helena whispered, "the timeline of pure consequence. It is the soil from which the stone heart grew. You cannot hide it, Anya. You must redeem it." Anya realized the task. She had to introduce the resonance of hope into a world of pure despair. She didn't use a miracle. She used a story. She dropped a single, ink-stained notebook into the dark reality, a notebook containing Ruth Penny's first draft of the quincentennial article. In that dark world, a young journalist found the notebook. She read about a village she didn't know, about a detective she hadn't met, and about a mercy she couldn't imagine. And she began to wonder, what if? That single thought was the reagent. The dark reality began to glow. The dissonance turned into harmony. The Weaver's reconciliation was complete. Chapter 74. The Final Pageant of the New All. The multiverse stabilized into a resonant symphony. To celebrate the new peace, a pageant was held not in a courtyard, but in the heart of the living cathedral. All the versions of great slaughter sent representatives. Leo stood as the master of ceremonies, wearing a tweed jacket that shifted colors like a nebula. Anya stood in the center, her habit woven from the light of 1,000,000,000,000 stars. Suddenly, the curtains of reality parted. Out stepped the original Sister Boniface, Sam Gillespie, and Ruth Penny. They weren't constructs or memories. They were the source. "I must say," Boniface said, looking at the multidimensional laboratory Leo had built, "your centrifuge is quite advanced, but does it handle the sediment of the soul?" "We're still working on that, Sister," Leo smiled. Sam looked at the infinite village they had inspired. "You did a good job, Leo. The perimeter is, well, there is no perimeter anymore." Ruth opened a new notebook, her eyes bright with the thrill of the ultimate headline. "The Stone Heart has finally, truly, become the world hearts. The pageant ended with the handing over of the Eternal Key, but this time, it wasn't handed to a developer or a bishop. It was handed to the universe itself. Chapters. In the endless expanse of the Sanctuary of Light, where time was merely a ribbon of golden frequency, the three original Guardians Boniface, Sam, and Ruth sat together in a recreated version of the laboratory. The smell of Earl Grey tea mingled with the faint ozone of 1,000 solved mysteries. We provided the baseline, Sam mused, looking at his gleaming badge. But look what they've built upon it. Leo and Anya, they've taken Great Slaughter to places we never dreamed of. The story only lives if it keeps being written. Sam, Ruth replied, her pen moving with a speed that defied the laws of physics. She was recording the births of 1,000,000 new acts of kindness across the multiverse. A static truth is a dead truth. We needed the dissonance to find the higher harmony. Sister Boniface was busy refining a new celestial compound. Golly, did you know that when two souls choose mercy over vengeance, it creates a reaction that lights up a whole nebula? It's the most efficient energy source in existence. They realized that their work was no longer about protection, but about inspiration. They were the muses of mercy, the whispers in the ears of anyone who stood at a crossroads and chose the harder kind of path. Chapter 76. The Eternal Bloom. As the multiversal pageant concluded, Anya and Leo found themselves standing at the edge of the new Genesis. The Eternal Key was no longer a physical object, but a living spark that they released into the void. The Stoneheart isn't just a foundation, Anya whispered, it's a seed. As the spark touched the center of the void, a new kind of Great Slaughter began to bloom, not a village, but a state of being. It was the realization that no matter how complex the universe became, it would always be rooted in the simple, profound chemistry of the human heart. The mist rolled in, lavender and silver, protective and eternal. And within the mist, the Stoneheart beat on, steady and true, echoing for another 500 years, and then 500 more, until the end of time itself was just another beginning. Epilogue. The final frequency. Centuries, then millennia, then eons passed. The universe itself eventually grew old, but the resonance of St. Vincent's never faded. It had become the fundamental frequency of existency, the quiet song of mercy. The legend of the Stoneheart became the creation story of a new universe, one built not on the cold collision of particles, but on the warm resonance of a single act of kindness in a small English village. And in the center of that new universe, there remains a small, bronze-like energy field that pulses like a sun. It bears no name, but those who listen closely can hear the bells of a small chapel, tolling for a past that will always be the future. The story of Great Slaughter never ends. It is the story of us all, the heart that was stone, the light that was seed, and the love that was, and is, and ever shall be, the home of every soul. The final frequency was not a sound, but a feeling. It was the feeling of a heavy mist lifting to reveal a sunlit valley, and the knowledge that, in the end, everything, absolutely everything, is precisely as it was meant to be. For within the Stoneheart of the world, love is the only perennial. The Heartbeat Song. The Stoneheart of St. Vincent. A novel of mystery, romance, and redemption in Great Slaughter. Chapter 1. The Echo of 500 Years. The mist clung to the rolling hills of Great Slaughter like a shroud of grey silk, damp and unyielding. It was a morning that felt heavy with the weight of centuries, the kind of Cotswold dawn where the line between the earth and the sky blurred into a singular, melancholic silver. For Sister Boniface, standing at the arched window of her laboratory at St. Vincent's Convent, the view was bittersweet. For 500 years, this stone edifice had stood as a bastion of peace, a sanctuary for the broken, a fortress for the devoted, and, more recently, a world-class hub for forensic chemistry. Now, the air smelled of change, and not the pleasant kind. It smelled of cold ink on legal contracts, and the diesel fumes of progress. 500 years, she whispered, her breath fogging the ancient glass. Enduring, perennial, this be the time of our... She wasn't just reciting history, she was reciting a eulogy. The convent was being sold. The land, which had seen the rise and fall of kings, was destined to become Lord Adam Sedgwick Towers, a modern development that, in Boniface's eyes, looked more like a skeletal cage than a home. In the courtyard below, the rehearsals for the pageant were underway. Miss Thimble, the town's most anxious music teacher, was waving her baton with a frantic energy. No, Dottie, The voice of Sister Peter boomed from the makeshift stage.